How's everybody doing? And welcome back to another episode of the Sixers Standard Podcast. We got a lot of news to talk about today. James Harden, the news has been bigger and bigger in his comeback. What is an episode of the Sixers Standard Podcast without James Harden news? The Eagles have decided to bench Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, of course. I am here with my friend, with his new fancy and I'm very granted him my man Noah Mosley. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? Mic check, mic check. Hey, what up? The mic.
We got Noah here flexing his mic. But yeah, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about you? Got some, not a lot of news, but we got some big news about James Harden
Again,
and Jalen
right.
Hurts.
Of course, we got more James Harden news. We should just call this the James Harden Standard.
Yeah,
podcast.
just call this James Harden, man.
The Harden Standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? What is one of our podcasts that's out one of those news without James Harden news? But I think we should get right into the news. The big question that I want to ask you, and I think that everyone is asking themselves now: James Harden, we know his work ethic wasn't good before. We see it now. He's going to strip clubs, right? He's not with the team. He's partying with rappers. He's not engaged in basketball. He has a little bit of a pot belly, just like our guy, the Philly fanatic out here.
Yeah.
Want James Harden?
Honestly, as you said earlier before the podcast, I would not trade Simmons for Harden. I think that narrative is over because, as you mentioned, he's a fat ass. He doesn't have a good work ethic, and I don't think we need him. We do need him, but I think his value has dropped significantly. But we can still get him without trading Simmons or Embiid, in my opinion, because the Rockets they're eventually going to have to trade James Harden, because if he keeps doing this, you just got to get him off or your friends.
I couldn't have said it better myself. You are totally right there. I think that, and here's what I would say. I think that you look at the deal, and I think that you're not trading Simmons for him no matter what. I think that it's too much of a risk. It would be a bonehead move by Daryl Morey. You're trading your whole future for a guy that has no work ethic. But I think if the price is right, then Harden would be a great addition to the team. You cannot forget that he is still the best scorer in the NBA right now. And you cannot forget that he actually, the narrative about him on defense is partially false. He's actually an average defender. I don't think he's that much worse than LeBron James is right now. So I do think that James Harden could be an elite scorer to add to this team. The dynamic, we'll have to see. But if the price is right, again, I think it would be worth a shot.
Yeah, I think it would be, because we'll have a good big three. We'll have James Harden, a shot creator, a playmaker. We also have Ben Simmons, elite defender. We have the big man, big fella, the process, Joel Embiid. So I think we can be a very, very scary team in the East. And definitely title contenders if we get James Harden.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that could either be a boom or bust thing. We could either be falling apart, as I want to switch this to gallery view, because we weren't doing that before. But there was the other episode that we weren't in gallery view the other time too. But that was a good catch by me in the middle of the episode. So hopefully you guys see the rest of this episode to see both of us the entire time, not just who's talking. But before we do look at some Harden trades, I do want to look at the other contenders for Harden to go to. So, of course, there's the obvious one, the Brooklyn Nets.
I think they're out because...
I don't think they're out, but I think it's less likely.
Yeah.
Because I think the Nets are a team that Kevin Durant still wants Harden. The problem is, who's their GM again? What's his name? Sean Marks or whatever his name?
Steve Nash.
No, their GM.
Wait, who? Oh, I don't know the GM. You just look it up quickly.
Sean Marks. Okay, so Sean
there we
Marks,
go.
the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets. I think he doesn't want to trade up Irving. He doesn't want to trade up Durant. So I think it's becoming more unlikely. And I think the Nets could put together a package. I think Karis LeVert's a really good player. I think Jared Allen is a very good young setter. And I think Spencer Dinwiddie could kind of make for the Rockets not necessarily to have to rebuild, but maybe retool. You see, I mean, did you see the game last night? I didn't, but I saw the highlights. I saw that.
I saw the highlights of John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins.
And I'm going to say this right now. Boogie looks good. He's not fast, but you see he's making effort plays. He's
Yeah,
playing defense, and I think he could definitely. I think there's a very good chance he returns to be a 20-point per game scorer. I also think John Wall.
he's
Again,
playing
both
good.
John Wall looked very good as well. So I think you can make this a retool, maybe not a rebuild, but there's
No,
guys in
John
town.
Wall. He's. I think he'll be back to his normal self in no time. He looked very good last night. He was fast. He was active on defense. He looked like a very good player. The John Wall I knew from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be exactly the same, but he definitely looks like 80% of that at least right now. But I
Yeah,
think the Nets are out by now. And then,
we got the Bucks and the Heat.
yes, so we have the Bucks first. So I think this is very interesting.
It's
We Harden
interesting, but
wants
I
to
don't think it's gonna
the,
get done.
the narrative, and who do you remember who reported this? I think it was Woj.
Yeah, it was Woj. She said the Bucks and the Heat were also contenders to get James Harden.
Now remember, guys, listening right here, that they never said that the Bucks want James Harden. They just said James Harden wants to go to the Bucks. Right? That's one of the places he wants to go.
Yeah,
And the funny thing is, all four of these teams have not shown any ample interest in getting James Harden.
yeah, exactly.
His market is going down. None of these teams will want to bite. I mean, the Bucks. There's been no interest with internally with the organization. The Sixers, you've heard some things. The Nets, you've heard the most things. The Bucks and Heat, you've heard nothing so far. But you go to Milwaukee. What do you think it would? First of all, do you think they're trading Giannis for Harden? I don't think that's it.
No, no, no.
What if it's Giannis for Harden and sweeteners?
That may. I doubt
I'm
it.
I'm just asking the hypothetical because
I don't think they're gonna trade
Butler went to
Giannis.
Miami on a sign and trade. Like
I
who
know.
that came out of nowhere. So I'm just
I don't know. They're gonna. I don't think they're gonna trade Giannis. The Bucks are gonna. They're trying to keep him as long as they can. I don't think they're gonna trade him unless Giannis says, "I'm not going back to Milwaukee."
that's what I think too. But who knows? What if they put in Christian Wood? What if they put in some other pieces there because Christian Wood is going to be very good. But you're right. I don't think that's going to happen. It was just a fun hypothetical.
Yeah, and the Bucks I don't think they have enough trade assets to get Harden. They have Chris Middleton, they have DiVincenzo. Like they don't really have a lot of young guys. Only not a lot. I don't think they're gonna get Harden. I think it's very unlikely unless Giannis is in the deal.
I think the Bucks had assets. Do you know the biggest mistake they made?
Not re-signing Malcolm Brogdon.
Well, that's not the biggest mistake. That's a mistake. Uh, what's the biggest mistake they made?
Oh, Mirotic.
That was his decision. Mirotic decided to leave, and that wasn't even that big. It
What was
happened
it?
like about a month ago.
Oh, I know. Bogdanovich?
No, that trade never went through. I'll just tell you, they traded for Drew Holiday.
Oh.
That trade, and I don't know the exact details of the trade, but they gave up. Oh, I remember. They gave up Eric Bledsoe. When you think about it, is not that much worse than Drew Holiday.
Yeah, not that much
But
worse.
like if you blink, Eric Bledsoe is kind of there. They also gave up George Hill, who was elite for them last year as a 3-point shooter. But listen to this: they gave up 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, no.
So not only now
They have to.
did you give up Eric Bledsoe, now you have Drew Holiday, who, let's be honest, does he even have that much trade value?
Not
He's
really, honestly.
Did the Rockets even want him? No. So you have Drew Holiday. Dante DiVincenzo is an asset. So what you would do before is you would put Dante DiVincenzo with a contract. Maybe you even give up Chris Middleton, right? You put Dante
Yeah,
DiVincenzo with a
maybe.
contract to match contracts, and then you add picks. The problem is they don't have picks.
Yeah, they don't. No, I think it's very, very unlikely they get James Harden. I think they are out of the 4 teams. I think they're number 4 on the list of getting James Harden.
I would definitely agree with you there. We also have the Miami Heat. I
That
think
could be
they
a
are a
deal.
very close third, and I'll tell you why. It's not likely. The Rockets want Tyler Hero. I think that's a very reasonable request. Tyler Hero is very overrated. All he does is shoot, and he's like a glorified JJ Redick that has slight potential to be more. It's a very
Yeah.
fair request, right? If you're giving up James Harden, Tyler
And
Hero,
he's a young player, so he can easily develop. So
the
yeah,
Heat don't want to give up Tyler Hero. If you're the Rockets right there, you hang up the phone. Like, that's
yeah,
just disrespectful. It just is. Tyler Hero should have to be included in the deal. Well, unless they want to give up Bam Adebayo, then, that's a different story. But and I saw this meme. I think I reposted on my Instagram story. It's like it was like he have an opportunity to trade for Michael Jordan Bulls. They want Tyler Hero, and he's like, nah. Best we can do is Duncan Robinson.
yeah,
And it's like it's true though. Like the Heat are like it's going to come crashing down on them that Tyler Hero is not very good. Duncan Robinson is overrated as well. They're going to get the best value now, and I think if I was a Heat GM, I would take over. I would trade Tyler Hero. You know what? Right here, you could probably get Zach LaVine straight up for Tyler Hero.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe
Yeah,
more.
and like, well, you have to add not straight up, but like you have to add picks and all
Yes,
that.
you could get him straight up. I'm serious.
Not straight
Tyler
up, no.
Hero's value right now, it's insane.
Well, yeah, but
So
not straight up.
I think that could actually happen. Tyler Hero's value right now is so high that could be possible straight up. Uh,
Yeah,
but I don't think the Heat's going to do it just because they're so very stubborn. Like they don't want to trade any pieces they have.
yeah, and they have a very good. Well, they don't have like a. Well, they do have a player. They have Jimmy Butler, like their star player. But look at the other team. Like it's not real. It's like Bam Adebayo's like becoming a star, and then they just have shooters around that. That's why they were so good. They have such great teamwork. If I'm the Heat, you don't trade anyone for him because that team worked last year, and I think it's going to work next year.
Yeah, I would disagree with you there because I think the Heat worked last year. I think if you can get value for Tyler Hero, you get and not Bam Adebayo because I think he could be something, but Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, they are literally just white kids that make the JV team and can shoot. Okay, they had a couple of good games. That's cool, but you trade them, the value you're going to get for him now is never going to be higher because
I could, yeah.
not to be racist here, but what's the last white American basketball player that was elite? Bill.
Larry Bird
Yeah.
and Steph Curry's actually
Steph Curry's not white.
he's not white.
Actually not white. He looks half white, but Steph Curry is not white.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of guys that are half white, like Ben Simmons, but like, well, who was the last fully white?
maybe John Stockton.
That's like over 20 years ago.
Yeah,
John Stockton, the last elite white NBA player, was 20 years ago. And not to be racist or anything,
but
but I think it's
John
highly
Stockton.
that
Yeah,
there we've seen European guys that have succeeded in the NBA. That's not
like
uncommon.
Luka Doncic and
But I don't consider them
Porzingis.
American white because they're not. You see like Luka Doncic, you see Porzingis, you see a lot of European players. Jokic too. You
Yeah,
see
and Jokic. Yeah,
Vucevic, Jokic. Uh, you see a lot. You see a lot of European guys that can succeed. You see Dirk as well. That just retired a
yeah,
couple.
Dirk from Germany. Yeah,
But I don't think it's likely that they become that much of a big threat in the long run. So I think what you got to boil it down to is the Sixers and the Nets. I still think the Nets are the front runners, even though Woj reported the Sixers, just because I think Harden wants to go there the most, right?
yeah,
The Nets actually have good assets because I think the Nets would be willing to give up LeVert, Allen. They would be able to give up Dinwiddie and picks too. And I think that's a good package, to be honest. Right now, where the Rockets leverage right now, I think that's a good package. The Sixers
yeah.
right now, their package is worse than the Nets if they're not giving up Simmons. So I think the Nets are the front runners. Sixers definitely a close second. Your
I
thought?
would, yeah, I would disagree. But even though the Nets do have good assets, like you have, but the Sixers have players like again Tyrese Maxey, a rookie, easily can develop. Matisse Thybulle, one hell of a defender. If you put him in the right coaching system, he could be very good. And Tobias Harris, a very good shooter, almost an all-star, like maybe like one tier or two tiers down an all-star. He is a really good player, and I think the Rockets could use that as like a small forward because you got John Wall as your point guard, and then just build shooters around and shot creators. Tobias can fit in very well with them. So I think the Sixers and the Nets, like they still have a very good package for him. But I think the Sixers are the front runners, in my opinion. Even though I think Harden does want to play in Brooklyn instead of Philly.
Here's my thing. I agree with most of what you said. There's only one thing. Tobias Harris is not a positive asset, and I wish he was, because everything you said about his game is true. But the fact of the matter is, his contract is the worst contract in the NBA, or at least one of the top worst contracts in the NBA, and he's going to be regarded as a negative asset until the day he's off that contract. Just because of the contract he's on, he's not worth that contract. The Rockets don't want to pay him that money. So, yes, while Tobias is a nice contract, you cannot regard him as an asset, I don't think.
Okay.
I mean, he could, but, like, I don't think the Rockets would regard him as an asset. I mean, here's the thing. There's a reason we didn't trade Tobias Harris because we traded out Horford because, one, he's a bad player, and two, he's a bad fit. Three, he's a bad contract, right? That's
Yeah.
We didn't trade Tobias Harris because, one, but the thing about Tobias Harris is, yes, he's a bad contract, but two, he is a good player, actually, and three, he is a pretty good fit here. So the thing is, it would actually cost, we would have to give up assets to trade him away, but in our case, it wasn't worth it because it wouldn't have made us better as a team.
Yeah. I
So
can see
to
where you're
us, he's
going.
regarded as an asset, but to other teams, he's not because his contract is like impossible to get off him.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from.
So do you want to look at some trade options before we talk about the Eagles?
Yes, sir. You can go first, and then I'll go.
Okay, let me change the sharing options just so
Yeah, just so we're
ready
making it like
to
quick.
share. But I'm gonna go to Google Chrome here,
All right, here we go.
and here's the first trade I have here that I think Daryl Morey should offer to the Rockets right here. So James Harden, of course, we trade away Tobias Harris. I'll also give him the Matisse Thybulle. All you Matisse sexuals out there, he is not that good. He's too jumpy on defense, offensively. He's not good. So again, could develop right now. Right now, he's not there. I think he's overrated. So since he has value, we'll give him to the Rockets. We'll also give him 2 first-round picks. So I think overall, you're getting Tobias to match salaries. You're getting a young player and picks, which is really what you want for the Rockets. And you also get Tobias. And while he's not an asset, he can be used as a retool guy to keep the fans excited. So while you guys are rebuilding, you can still get to the playoffs as a 7-8 seed, if that makes sense, because you have Tobias, you have John Wall, you have Boogie, you have Christian Wood, you have Eric Gordon, you have Matisse. You have a lot of guys there collectively that could propel them to a low playoff seed. So I think this could be a good trade for the Rockets to do. And yeah, what's your thoughts on this one?
I think overall it's actually a pretty good trade. I would add maybe one more, but this is like a good start to offer. Like this is what you should offer first. But if they don't accept that, I have another trade that I think they will accept more of. But this is a good start to get James Harden.
Yeah, so let's look at your trade, and then I'll see if I would actually offer that. I think mine, I would only go a little bit higher. I would be very cautious on how much to offer. Like, I'm not offering Tobias like a
Wait,
young
hold
player
on,
for
hold
5 picks. I'm not
on,
giving
hold
up
on.
all our future for
Hold
Harden.
on. There we go. Even though it says fail, it's because Tyrese Maxey, he can't get traded until January 1st. And I doubt Harden's going to any team before December. Like, I think it will be sometime in January, so don't worry about that. But if it didn't happen, then yes, this would have been a success trade. So, obviously, we have to offer Tobias Harris. Matisse Thybulle can be one hell of a player. He can be a boomer bust. Like he's a very, as you mentioned, a jumpy defender. I think he is jumpy, but he's also a very good defender, and he has a lot of potential. And obviously Tyrese Maxey, because he's a young player who has lots of potential. He's a rookie, and I'll probably add one first round pick because Harden's value just dropped a lot. It dropped because he was going to a strip club. He was doing partying in Georgia, like he has no work ethic. It just dropped a lot. But I think this should be the deal that after your deal, I think this is what the Sixers should offer after your deal.
James Harden should party with Mr. Chicken Wings,
Yeah.
Lou Will.
Hey,
But
we will.
overall, I think your deal was good. I think that my deal and your deal are very similar. It just depends what the Rockets prefer, either an extra pick or maxi. Could go either way. But I don't. I would be very cautious as to offer more than that. I think if the Rockets say no, I throw in another second round pick, and if they don't say yes, then I offer one more second round pick, and if they don't say yes, then
Then screw them.
because I think that eventually all the teams that he's interested in are going to be very stubborn. And I think that eventually they might come back to us and say, hey, you want to do the original offer if, they're struggling and no one else is really offering them anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that should make our thoughts really clear on Harden. Noah, I think we both have a pretty similar opinion that we would want him here if we get him for the right price.
Yeah, we can't get him for Simmons. Like, I'm
Oh, wow.
not trading. I'm
No.
not trading some. We are not trading someone who is 7 years younger than James Harden, who hasn't even entered his prime yet, for someone who's 31 years old and is progressing a lot and progressing by a little bit each year.
Yeah, I would definitely not do that. I think that if we're going to trade Simmons for Harden, they would need to give us picks. Just because Harden's kind of old right now, they have no leverage. He's been going to clubs. His work ethic's horrible. And Simmons is a young player who has a very good work ethic. But before we do end the show right here, and I know we're not an Eagles podcast, so we're not going to talk about this for a while, but Carson Wentz has been benched for Jalen Hurts, who will be starting tomorrow. His first start comes at home, but against the New Orleans Saints.
That's gonna be a tough first start for my guy Jalen Hurts. I think you can't go that hard on him because he is versing the number one defense in the NFL, the Saints. The Saints have been, yeah, in my opinion, they're one of the best defense. And I think Carson Wentz would have not. He probably would have last one quarter against that team because that team would have wrecked his ass so badly. But if Jalen Hurts can get close to this team, or if they win, you gotta keep him. You gotta keep him strong, and I think it could be time to ship Wentz away.
Here's the thing with me. This season doesn't matter anymore, but I'm just going to tell you this right now. Funny. You realize we could still win the Super Bowl? It's not out of the realm of possibility. If we're looking at the numbers, it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Stats don't lie.
Imagine that happens. Okay, it's not, but that was just a funny joke. My point is, no, it's a true joke, but a joke. My point is, this season doesn't matter. It's a wash. I think we see what Jalen Hurts does. This is just kind of like a test right here. If Jalen Hurts does well, then there's a quarterback battle going into training camp. But let's look through the scenarios right here. If Jalen Hurts does well, you go into the offseason, what do? You have two quarterbacks, and right?
Yeah.
Carson Wentz has no value. My personal thing is you have a quarterback battle. You see which one's better. If Carson Wentz can regain some confidence, you start him. If he doesn't, then I think you grow impatient with him and you see if you can try to trade him. At that point, if you can trade him and you can get him off the books, I don't even care what you get back. If you can just get him off the books, then that's a W. Right?
Yeah.
I think if Jalen Hurts wins that quarterback battle, and I don't think you trade him right at the beginning of the season, you trade him right before the deadline, right? Because I think even if Jalen Hurts does well, you really do at the beginning of the season want to get Wentz back on the field, and you want to give him that one last shot to see if he can rejuvenate the offense. So I think even if Hurts does well this season, I think in the quarterback battle, Wentz has the upper hand, just because you want to see if he has one last thing in him. If he doesn't, then you trade him at the deadline. Hurts becomes your new quarterback, and you ride with that. What do you think you do if Hurts does well?
If Hurts does well, I think you'd have that little quarterback battle, but we don't give Wentz one more shot. I think he's going to progress even more probably next season. So I wouldn't risk it. I think if Jalen Hurts wins that QB battle, you immediately trade him and try to get him off. And we have our new franchise quarterback in Jalen Hurts.
Okay, so if Jalen Hurts does well, then you say he has the upper hand in the quarterback battle.
And you immediately trade Wentz after that.
So here, what if Jalen Hurts doesn't do well? This should be a no-brainer. If Jalen Hurts doesn't do well, then what I think you do is there's a lot of options here. Either A, you go in with both quarterbacks and say, I'm confident one of these guys will be good. B, you say, I'm going back to Wentz. He has potential. C, you're saying, I'm giving Hurts another shot. Or D, you draft a quarterback because you're going to have a really good pick in the draft since Hurts is losing games. What do you do?
If Hurts doesn't do well, I think you go back to the two-guy quarterback and hope one of them does well. I'm just not sold Carson Wentz will do well next season, and I think we need that backup who can do well. But like I'm not sold Carson Wentz will do well next season. I think his time is over
You
as
think
an Eagle.
so? If Jalen Hurts does bad, I personally would draft a quarterback. I
Yeah,
personally,
I think you would. Yeah, I think we should draft a
I would,
quarterback.
if we could get Trevor Lawrence, we could
Sure.
trade up. Think about it. I mean, the Jets are a really dumb team, really dumb.
Yeah, they're actually like retired.
We could try to get Trevor Lawrence on the team, and I think that could, uh, you know, result well. I think you either get a franchise. You don't what you don't do is in the middle of the first round you're like, let's draft the fourth best quarterback in the draft, and maybe he'll be good. That is literally just a Jalen Hurts situation all over again. It's a waste.
Yeah,
But
no.
I think if you can draft uh, a go-to quarterback, then what you do is you trade away Wentz, you trade away Jalen Hurts. Maybe you get some weapons for your new quarterback, and you start like a good young fresh team. But so that's what happened. You know what? Another option is if Jalen Hurts does bad, you just put Wentz in and you build a really young team around him. You get and you trade all your picks, but what you trade him to is to get good players, but not just good players, good young players, right?
Yeah.
You don't trade all your picks for good old players. That's dumb. Because worst case scenario, let's say if Wentz struggles next season and you trade away all your picks, you still have young players, right? Like you're not done because it's not a total waste because the players you traded for are young. So you can still run it back with a new quarterback. So that's what I do next season. If Hurts struggles, I think you put him as the backup. You put Wentz back in. You see how it goes when you put a really good team around him. You say this is your team. If he still struggles, well, that's a problem.
Then it's over.
It's not because I think what happens is what you do is Jalen Hurts struggles. You put Wentz in next season. You build a great team around him, and then he struggles that season. What you do is you repeat. You put Jalen Hurts in to finish the season, but then what you do, you don't make a mistake this time. You draft a good young quarterback. So now you have young players and a good young quarterback, right? So for me, it's about giving Wentz one more shot with a really good team because he's never had an amazing team around him. So my thing is you give Wentz a one last shot with a really good team, and if he doesn't perform there, then you give Jalen Hurts the reins, see if he does well. If Jalen Hurts does very well, then he's the starter. If he doesn't do well, you draft a marquee quarterback.
Okay. I disagree with one thing you said about Wentz having a very good team. He did have a good team in 2017. He was MVP. Look at that. Like we were the best football team in 2017. We won the Super Bowl thanks to Nick Foles. But before that, Carson Wentz was having the season of a lifetime.
And
And he had a good team.
that his team was very good back then, and I think he hasn't had a team as good since. But that team even wasn't amazing. Imagine what we could do if we had a really, really good team.
But again, Carson Wentz is progressing, so
I mean, regressing.
he's he's deep. Oh my god,
Yeah,
he's going down. He is going down. He's not going up where
for
he
me,
should
you give
be.
him one more shot. But here's where the problem lies, and I don't even want to do a preview on the Saints because like I'm going to watch the game, but we all know what the result's going to be, right? Like Jalen Hurts is going to maybe do something, but we're not going to win. Here's the thing: what if Jalen Hurts does okay? He goes like 2-2 in these last games. You know, he throws like 6 touchdowns. You know, he throws for like 220 yards a game. Doesn't really rush that much. What if he's like a mediocre quarterback? What do you do?
I think you keep him because again, he's a rookie. So then again, he's only a rookie. So he has
Yeah.
a lot. He has a hell of potential coming up for this kid.
I think if he does mediocre, you put him into a quarterback battle with Wentz, And because I don't want to be out on Wentz yet, but I think you put him into a quarterback battle knowing that there's a 60% chance he's going to win it.
Yeah,
So what I do, you know what? Actually, I think I would do. You're right. If Hurts does okay, even if it's just okay, he's the starter for next season. And if he progresses in his second season, then he keeps the job. And he has a job stable, like third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Then he has the job in the bag. If he doesn't do well in the second season, then I
we
think you draft.
bench him. Yeah, then we bench him and we draft someone else.
And if he does okay in the second year again, if he doesn't progress and just stays the same, you give him one last shot the third year. And if he does okay or bad that year, then you bench him. But I think there's a lot of scenarios to go through. I think overall the consensus is you let Jalen Hurts see what he can do. If he does okay, if he doesn't do bad, if he does okay or good, then you give him another shot to improve next year.
Yeah.
But
But
I
the
don't think
first thing we should be doing is firing Howie Roseman. That's number one. That is the first thing you need to do. And second, I know we're coming close on time, but I just wanted to talk about this before we ended. What do you think of Doug Peterson? I just wanted to ask you on what your thoughts were about him.
so. Doug Peterson, I think Doug's a good coach. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Doug Peterson's a good coach, but he hasn't been able to grow with Wentz. I say if the Eagles, I don't think we should fire Doug after this season. I really don't.
I agree with you. We should keep him.
I think it's been one bad season, so I don't think we should overreact. I think Roseman should go after the season. I think Doug
Yeah, he's
stay.
over.
If we don't make the playoffs, Doug should still stay, but he's on very thin ice. If he struggles to start the season with Jalen Hurts, then you fire a new coach because then it's been too much time of struggling, and we all need to get better as a team, and this is the way we do things around here, and
Yeah.
that's what I think about Doug. And what's your opinion before we end this?
So I think he has been a good coach. Well, not this year, but he has managed to be good coaches with other QBs, not just Wentz. Was Nick Foles in 2017. He was a big part why the Eagles won the Super Bowl because he was coaching Nick Foles. That is a big reason why. And I think we should keep him around, even though he'll be on the hot seat if this goes to hell. But I think he is still a very good coach, and I think we should do our best to keep him because I think he's one hell of a coach.
I don't think we should do our very best to keep him. I think he's on very thin ice. I don't think there should be any praise for Coach Doug, but I think we have seen good stuff from him before, so I don't think he should be fired after this season, but maybe the next season if he doesn't do well there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
So yeah, before we end, when is the Sixers' first preseason game?
It's like December 15th, I think.
Okay, let me see. We have a preseason game on Tuesday, the 15th, against the Boston Celtics, and then
We will have highlights on that next episode. We will be talking about that game a lot. Spoiler alert.
yes, next episode we will be talking about that Celtics game and what we saw from that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be watching that because I got a ton of homework to do.
I'm gonna watch the highlights. I might watch like the first quarter or something like that. I don't know, maybe.
We'll look at takeaways. We'll do a lot of research. We'll do our part. We'll look at a ton of articles. We'll look at the box scores. We'll look at the highlights. We'll try to get a general grasp of the game. And we'll talk about how I feel about that. Again, we'll take that with a grain of salt as a preseason game, but against the Celtics. And then we also have on Friday at 6 o'clock, probably right after we film the podcast. And then we start next Wednesday. Not next Wednesday, Wednesday after that, 23rd against the Washington Wizards at 7 o'clock. So, yeah, we already talked about the schedule, so I don't think we need to do that again. But thank you guys for watching the Sixer Standard Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And, yeah, it's been Ethan Koppelman, Noah Mofsowitz. We'll see you guys next time.